A very good afternoon to everyone. Today, Group 14 will be presenting to you on Chapter 31 regarding Singapore, an evolving and increasingly complex relationship. There will be 4 parts in our outline. First is by Ao Man. Second is by Guo Xiaoyuan. Third is by me, Lim Jo-yi. Then lastly by Lu Xingyu and Li Yusong. So without further ado,
Science communication in Singapore has evolved over the years from an early governmental top-down approach to the present pragmatic one, encompassing a wide range of voices starting from the origins, evolving from the extrinsic motivation to the intrinsic need. The rapid development of Singapore from a small fishing village to a thriving entrepreneurial center lays the foundation for Singapore's future growth, stability, and economic prosperity. In the early days, Singapore benefited from the commercial and trading activities brought about by its strategic geographical location and paid less attention to the development of science and technology. After the People's Action Party was elected to power in 1959, it was emphasized that political stability was essential for the survival of the country and economic stability. Since independence, it has faced 2 persistent constraints. The first is heavy dependence on water supply by Malaysia. The second is separation from Malaya has prevented access to natural resources that were previously supplied. In modern times, there are 2 ways in which science is communicated: the formal study of science in educational institutions and the less formal dissemination of science to the general public. Universities emphasize education and training rather than research and development. So, in the early years of independence, the National Academy of Science was established. In November 1970, the Science Center Committee was set up with the main task of promoting science and technology to the public. In 1976, SNAS was reorganized into a broader umbrella organization overseeing or scientific societies in Singapore. And in 1977, Singapore Scientist was launched to disseminate interesting science questions, experiments, and quizzes to school children. Overall, science and technology remain at the forefront in Singapore today, with the government linking science and technology as well as economic growth to drive Singapore's development while facilitating governance by the ruling party.
Next, during the 1980s to 2000s, Singapore underwent a transformation in science communication, from solving the initial problem to making of mass media for dissemination. Firstly, in the early days of the establishment of the Singapore Science Center in 1980s, the center was located in a remote area without public transportation, not enough funds to carry out activities, and the public participation is relatively low. In the face of these issues, Professor Leo Tan, the head of the Science Center, has taken effective measures to address them. He decided to rent a car to pick up and drop off students, and communicated with the bus company to open a bus route for the Science Center. In addition, in order to make science more attractive, he introduced interactive science performance. Also, the Science Center has also launched the Young Scientist Badge Scheme. These measures not only promote scientific knowledge but also cultivate interest in science among students. Next, let's take a look at the 1990s to the early 2000s. Singapore's science communication gradually shifted towards mass media, using mass media to convey scientific information, especially on the important issue of water resources. To address the issue of water scarcity, Singapore has launched the New Water. However, the public has a certain aversion towards drinking recycled water. In order to gain public support, some scientific communication strategies have been adopted. The media downplayed negative vocabulary in their report, focusing on the scientific nature of water treatment process and emphasizing its safety and reliability. Finally, the public gradually accepted the use of new water, which has become one of the 4 national forces in Singapore.
Hi, I'll be presenting how the tide shifted from communicating science to nurturing science communicators. In the education field, science educators normally follow 3 major objectives in teaching science: to foster curiosity in students, guide them to have a positive attitude towards science, and emphasize the potential benefits of science for society in the future. Sometimes, to ensure they achieve this, educators will innovate their teaching strategies, such as having activities outside the classroom and bringing their students to visit science centers. There are two science institutions that are major stakeholders in communicating science. These two are the Science Centre Singapore, which you'll hear more about their activities later in the fourth part of our presentation. Another is the National University of Singapore's Science Demonstration Lab, which hosts many hands-on experiments for young students and the university's visitors. Singapore also focused on educating their science communicators. Back then, there was an issue where not many see polishing science communication skill as a priority. So how they tackle this issue is by establishing these programs. The first is targeted for postgraduates, and the other two are concerning undergraduates. To summarize, we can see that there are efforts made to not only promote science communication within the society, but also among the science educators and others from related industries.
Now I want to talk about science communication branching out from 2010 to present. The growing emphasis on developing science communicators in Singapore has created diverse career opportunities for graduates. The first one, corporate science communicators, collaborate with researchers to communicate scientific impact, train scientists for media engagement, and manage communications. Secondly, informal science educators, work in informal settings like parks and museums, creating programs to enhance public interaction with science. Then, science and media communicators, such as develop resources for science journalists, authors, and documentary makers across various media formats. The last one is formal science educators, teach science content in structured educational environments. Now I want to introduce Science Center Singapore. Under CEO Professor Limited Mom, the Science Center emphasizes accessible science education through initiatives like KidStop, the STM program, the Singapore Science Festival, and hands-on Maker Faire events to enhance community engagement in science and technology. There are many science communication research in Singapore. Interest in science communication research is growing in Singapore, fueled by academic programs and graduate student contributions. Surveys indicate that Singaporeans have a positive view of science and technology, and they are keen to engage with policymakers, emphasizing the role of formal education and informal outreach in improving public understanding.
And it is worth to mention that the first media company in Singapore, Wildtype Media Group, it's a milestone in Singapore that represented the entry of science communication into the commercial field. This company is the first media company in Singapore that focuses on science communication. In 2011, Dr. Julian Chen, the leader of this company, edited and published the Asian Scientist magazine, and with the aim of showing the outstanding scientific achievements from Asia to the world. And from 2012 to 2016, Asian Scientist magazine has been expanding its influence and gradually gaining attention in the field of Asian science, attracting a group of regular readers and scientific research institutions. From 2017 to 2021, in collaboration with the National Supercomputing Center of Singapore, Supercomputing Asia was launched, a professional magazine dedicated to interpreting related knowledge into the public, making an important contribution to the scientific communication in the field of supercomputing. Until now, the company have continuously innovated the forms and contents of science communication and launched some new science communication projects, attracting the audience. And in conclusion, the different stage of development of science communication in Singapore have always played an important role in the country's development. These developments altogether demonstrate the solid foundation of science communication in Singapore's various aspects, and citizens have a strong interest in science and tech advancements and help policymakers involve them in relevant policy making. The difference of science communication keeps growing, playing a crucial role in the nation's development and public engagement with the scientific realm. And this is the end of this video. Thank you for watching.